Good morning, everyone. I'm Sharnita and I work with the Jobs for Her team. I'm sure we'll have few more participants joining in, but we'll start since it's 11. HerTech is an exclusive online platform powered by Jobs for Her for women in technology across the globe, offering opportunities to upskill, take challenges, network, search for jobs, and explore resources for career growth. Women professionals can also get access to courses, webinars, and masterclasses in various technological skills. Join exclusive virtual meetups with other women in technology, as well as apply for HerTech jobs at top companies all through HerTech. The internet is an essential commodity without which the world will become arduous to live in. With the increasing digitization, Internet of Things is a trend that's catching on in corporate India. Let me take this opportunity to introduce Pankaj Sharma. Pankaj Sharma is a head makers lab at Tech Mahindra, an accomplished information technology expert having over 27 years of successful profession developing and executing operational strategies to promote organizational growth and optimal utilization of emerging technologies, providing performance focused consultations to multiple organizations while leading on entrepreneurial ventures. Recognized for creativity and innovation in launching new technologies, strategies, programs, and services to boost revenues, capture new opportunities, meet or exceed operational metrics, deliverables, and provide world class values. Consistently delivering technical and revenue progressions, known for naturally adapting to environmental changes, ready for thinking outside the box to resolve mission critical issues and achieve bottom line success. Altruistic instincts drive the desire to give back to their society through mentoring engagements, especially with students and upstarts. A regular invitee as honorary speaker on technology lectures with many educational institutions. Extensive experience of international travel provides remarkable capabilities in dealing and networking with clients, fraternity from various cultures and geographical domains. Please keep yourselves muted and we'll take questions after the session. Over to you, Pankaj.
Yeah, thank you, Sharnita. Hello, everyone. My name is Pankaj Sharma, and I head the Makers Lab at Pune in Tech Mahindra. Today, what I'll do is I'll present a small deck, which will talk about what women can do in the domain of IoT and how can it help them shape up their careers. More so with respect to a bit of, the ongoing pandemic, how post-pandemic this can help. I am keeping the presentation deliberately short. I can go on for hours giving the presentation and teaching. But for now, I'm keeping the presentation short so that it gives you an insight into and it helps you understand what all career options that can boom up and whether it excites you to get into that career of IoT. So I'll just share my screen to begin with. So I hope my screen is visible to all.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So this session is about what it takes to make a future in IoT. And to begin with, let us have a basic definition of IoT clear. IoT is nothing but Internet of Things. And what do you mean by Internet of Things? Simply described, it is networking of devices, and that's what we call as things. Let me give you an example. Around you, you will find several devices and several objects. You would have a light bulb, you'll have cars, you'll have clothes, you'll have fridges, computers, and everything. Each of these devices has something which is happening with them. So something is lying, something is has observed a run up, something is working, something is moving. All these phenomena that are exhibited by these devices, they need to be sensed, and if they are connected to each other, it can change the whole paradigm within the whole universe. As I'll tell you ahead, the whole world by 2025, which is just 5 years from now, is going to explode with devices of this kind. Every device, every entity that you see, feel, and observe that would be connected in some form or the other to every other device. And through internet, they would be able to talk to each other as well. Let us take a scenario of, a fridge at your home. You are out in a vacation and that fridge is at your home and you've forgotten to defrost it at a given time. How do you do it remotely? And how good would it be if you could do it remotely? And that's what the power of Internet of Things is, that a sensor and actuator sitting on the fridge could help you and enable you to do that remotely. And these scenarios you can, add on to any element, any facet of life. When you use a Fitbit, when you walk and jog, you get a lot of data from it. You see how many calories you burned, how many steps you traveled, how many meters did you travel. All this comes to you naturally because there is an IoT element sitting inside the Fitbit wristband that you have. So this is the power of internet, and this is simply networking of things over internet. Moving ahead, what are these devices? So these are smart devices which have some kind of a sense in them. They have sensors which can sense data, sense state, sense value, sense any classification that is technically possible. It can even understand its surrounding and give you some input on that. For example, temperature, pressure, heartbeat, all these can be connected to some sensor and captured. On the other front, you have actuators. Actuators are the opposite of sensing. In sense, you are taking the input from a sensor and you are working on it, whereas on actuator, you give an input to that actuator, which would eventually turn something off, on, or put it into certain state. So for example, if I give a command to a fridge remotely, that it is to be, maintaining a temperature of 20 degrees centigrade, that's an actuator which would be sitting inside the fridge to do that task. So actuators are using the information, they act on the information and perform some kind of a manual operation automatically. Sensors don't generally have the capabilities on their own. That's a given thing. Sensors need some kind of a controller, some kind of a electrical pulse. It also needs a physical interface, which allows it to capture data. Typically, they work on electricity, and these are very low power electricity. I would also like to take an opportunity to tell you here, a lot of people have a fear with electronics that, it can give a shock. It's tough to learn. It's difficult. Electronics is not so easy. You play with wires and current. You can burn something. So the devices on IoT which work typically work below 5 volts, which is even lower than your mobile phone's charger output. So there's no fear of shock or anything. These are devices which are very stable nowadays. And even if you burn something, the cost of these devices is so minuscule that it is not a huge loss as such. And as you will, make and break things, you will certainly progress and you learn how to work on that. So sensors can be, for example, a temperature sensor could sense temperature of body, of environment, of a room, of a air conditioner, of a refrigerator. Likewise, a gas sensor can, figure out if there's a gas leak, the volume of the gas, the pressure of the gas. You could have humidity sensors which can be put on soil, which can be planted on the plants. They can be there in the room also to determine what is the humidity inside the room, inside the soil and all. Similarly, you have proximity sensors which allow you to figure out if two devices are coming close to each other. So when you walk, when you do a Fitbit, it automatically determines your phone is close by and it starts connecting to the phone and giving data on your phone as well. That's proximity sensor sitting inside your phone. Similarly, you have luminosity sensors. So when you put your phone, mobile phone, onto your ear, you see the display goes off. It's nothing but a luminosity sensor which is checking whether your phone, your mobile phone has been shut off in a certain location when you place near the ear. As soon as it sees that it's near the ear, it automatically switches on the off the display. You have accelerometer and gyroscope. Through accelerometer you can play games with your mobile. The moment you use it as a V band or a stick, or you move it, it determines where it's whether it is falling, whether it is moving, it is fast, it is slow, and all those parameters are captured. It also has a gyroscope which allows you to figure out its orientation. So you know where the north is, where the south is, using a simple gyroscope sitting inside the mobile phone. You can have pulse sensors which can be connected to your skin and which can determine the pulses of your heartbeat or pulses for any other device. For example, you can even determine the number of pulses or rotations a fan is taking to determine the speed of the fan. So all these sensors and IoT devices are nowadays very commonly available. Since the last 5 or 6 years, what has happened is the devices earlier used to be very costly. A temperature sensor just about 10 years back would cost you almost like about 1,000 rupees or a 10,000 rupees kind of a device. The same sensor today is available for less than a rupee. So this is the level of the cost reduction which has happened due to the advent of IoT and due to the mass consumption of these devices. So these are available in abundance in the market, very cheap to try. You can kickstart with a kit which can cost you less than 2,000 rupees, and that can help you make devices, gadgets at home and try your skills in IoT. So let's talk about other components. There are three principal components of IoT. The first is M2M devices. So what do you mean by M2M? M2M is nothing but machine-to-machine devices. So IoT devices which make up for the network itself. Examples are microcontrollers, sensors and actuators. These are physical elements which talk between two machines. So it is talking between, say, maybe my phone and my fridge, or my Fitbit and my mobile phone, to figure out what the sense of the message is. So it is a machine to machine kind of a interface. Typical examples of such devices are Arduino boards. These are small boards. These are less than, they would fit into your palm itself. There's an ultrasonic sensor that you can see, and there's a board for controlling this device. On the other front, you have M2M area networks. So when a device is there, it needs to transmit, it needs a medium to transmit its data over to internet. So you need a Wi-Fi access or a Bluetooth or a radio channel by which you can send data from this device or the sensor back onto the cloud or to any other device. So these are called M2M area networks, and these help in communication between devices. Typical examples: Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and you are so convenient, conversant with Bluetooth. You know how it is easy to transfer a file between one mobile phone to another. Just the flick of a button, and you can transfer the file. The third aspect is the IoT gateways. These gateways are typically the way how you connect these devices with internet. So they are a gateway between the device or the uh, device sensor onto internet. Typically, these would be computers, they would be microcontrollers, they would be routers, they could be access points. So if you take a simple example of Alexa, most of you would have used Alexa at your homes. So the Alexa is a device which is a typical IoT device, state of art, and it's being sold in millions and trillions now. And this device has multiple sensors. It has audio sensors which can sense sound from up to 8 different directions. It also has an actuator which is a speaker. It also has actuators to switch on lights and disable lights. It also has an actuator which can talk to other light bulbs and ecosystem inside the house. So this is a typical example of IoT. It is having a M2M gateway using your access point at home. So your access point at home becomes a gateway for this device to talk to internet, from where it learns more skills. It is able to communicate with the internet and download your music, your values, or anything that you think of. Typically, access points and computers form this. So these are the principal components of IoT. Most of these components are already there in most homes as of today. So what is the real potential with IoT? Why IoT? Why this so much of interest in IoT all of a sudden? Why everybody is talking of IoT as if something different is going to happen? That's because the growth which you see in the devices, as I talked earlier, since 2015 to 2025, if you see the graph is rising rapidly. The current CAGR rate of increase is almost 10%, but it's actually exponentially increasing. So it is possible by 2025 we may witness a 20 to 25% of rise. Even if we go by current projections, we'll have 34.2 billion devices by 2025. And just to give a comparative figure, the total human population on Earth in 2025 will not cross 8 billion. 8 billion versus 34 billion devices. So think of the enormity of how much of internet access would be available through devices. All devices would become connected. You would have IoT devices sitting in farms. You would have IoT devices in thousands in your own home. You already have Alexas and mobile phones and Fitbits, but these are only numbered as 5 or 10 right now. Soon you will find them in hundreds and thousands. Every entity at your home, at your office would soon be on the cloud, connected all the time, and giving and taking some parameters, some data, and some information. So that would give you a potential idea. And this idea will also help you understand the scale of opportunities that you have in this market. Against this, if you look at it, any other sector, manufacturing sector would rise at almost not more than 2% or 3%. So this is a 10% CAGR rise, which is phenomenal and which will change. You already have seen China flooding you with enormous amount of electronic goods. The reason is it already sees the potential that IoT is the way to go, and that's where we should start investing. And that's where you people should also start investing and think about your careers going this path. I would also like to share this stage to talk about a few prominent women in IoT era and our IoT domain. So typically, most of the industries are dominated by men, and I don't know, but it is considered, that technology is more of a man domain. I can tell you from my experience, I have a team which is an all-women's team, which is working on one of the most prestigious and most important product that we have developed called Veturina. It's completely all alone handled by women team. So that gives an idea that this myth is breaking. In the next slide, I'll also talk about, the range in which how women are getting into this domain and how they are pushing men out. One of the examples is Alicia Asin. She's a CEO from Libya, and she started in 2006. She's a prominent speaker across the world. She's a prominent speaker at World Economic Forum, and she's a strong proponent of IoT. Likewise, you have Meg Whitman. So she's from HP. She was a CEO of HP, and she now has a platform of her own called HP Universal. And she has defined a new technology within IoT, which is edgeline technology. So you can see how strong this domain is being handled by women. Similarly, you have Virginia Rometty. She is from IBM. So she has even created a division called Watson Internet of Things. This would give you an idea that this domain is not typically a man-dominated domain or something. This is gender agnostic, and if you make a career, you have places to go. Now let's talk about how huge the percentage of women is in IoT and electronics, and just giving you an idea. So the percentage of women which are employed in typically in manufacturing segment, you'll see the blue pie of the graph actually eclipsing the red part, which is the female percentage, right? And look at the same percentage when it comes to computer peripherals and equipment manufacturing, which is electronics plus IoT. You see the men are completely outnumbered. 80% is what was there in 2010. Today it is standing at almost 85%. 85% of IoT devices manufactured, IoT components manufactured, and IoT solutions are being propelled and driven by women. So that's why this begins and this brings in a lot of opportunity. Every handphone that you have, every cell phone that you see, 90% of that assembling and 90% of the design of that cell phone happens through female workers, especially at Foxconn in China. They have almost, a Foxconn unit which makes specifically mobile phones, and that mobile phone has almost like 95% of women working in it. Every assembling, every soldering, every integration is testing is done by women workers. And why is it that we feel that women can revolutionize? I believe it has also got to do with some of the genetic makeup that is there within human beings. Women have natural tendency to do intricate stuff. The finesse that you have in doing cleaning, in clothing, in makeups, in designing, in painting, in cooking, all these things require a lot of skill and a lot of understanding of art, quality, and finesse. If I were to make a recipe at my home, then I would have to probably, sit with a YouTube channel, look at each of the instructions, figure out 1 teaspoon. I would, do 1 teaspoon exactly as if, the hell is going to break loose if I drop more. And it actually does. Whereas women, when they do it so instantly, and they take it so easily. For them, it's like doing it in blindfold. So that's the level of accuracy that you people have. So when you assemble mobile phones, if you look at the screws themselves, they are in microns. So typical nature of the male mankind is such that they are more physically enabled to do larger stuff, and that's where the finesse goes away, and that's why probably the electronic industry is highly reliant on women workforce, and that's what you can take forward. The second important element, which is a important component of design thinking, is empathy. Women have a higher empathy factor. They empathize better, and that is a big element in innovation. No innovation can happen if you do not have a empathy component or empathy statement attached to it. When you have Alexa, the empathy that has been built into it, that it talks back to you. That empathy that it brings is that it is talking to you. It's a companion to you. That's what it is selling in millions and billions. So that's what probably is natural to women, and that can be exploited by you people. And this is the right time. We are at a cusp where India, if it has to take over this pandemic and become a giant nation, it has to take over into electronics and Industry 4.0. And Industry 4.0 cannot happen without IoT. So IoT being a principal component, if women workforce get onto it, they can not only justify and help themselves, but they can help the nation to be built for the next industrial revolution. So another example, how you can revolutionize. So think of it, most of the devices which are being built right now, other than the manufacturing industries, they are primarily focused at two domains. One is agriculture, and second is lifestyle. And all lifestyle appliances are women-centric. If you look at dosa maker, coffee machine, ovens, who would make a better coffee machine than anybody else? Because it comes naturally to you. Your genetic fabric has been trained on it for years and generations. So it comes naturally to you. If Cafe Coffee Day designs a coffee machine, and if you were to design it, you would have a better understanding, domain expertise, and probably you'll build it better than what they do. Household cleaning appliances, vacuum cleaners, washing machines, fridges, and all baby products, pram, rockers. Apart from this, there are many others. You have tracking devices, you have baby monitoring devices, you have temperature, blood pressure, health monitoring devices which work at home. All these things, if you look at it, the empathy is more and the domain expertise on these is more in a woman than in a man. And thus, I reiterate that IoT per se is better for women, and it's something which you should definitely, if you can, try your career on. This is just a brief of, statement given by Brad, and he's an Intel head. And he says that post the COVID, a lot of things in digital transformation would be important for the industry. And for this to happen, IoT will be a principal component. So they say the opportunity for IoT is going to be massive in the post-COVID world. You already have seen it during the pandemic times also. You must have seen everybody trying to make ventilators, everybody trying to make manufacturing machines for PPE kits. They were also making a lot of health sensors. People are now making, temperature sensors which can, read temperature remotely. All of a sudden, this thing has been flooded, and many of you would not be aware. But if somebody is aware, there are videos circulating on internet right now, on WhatsApp channels right now, which shows that China has already hosted an exhibition on exclusive COVID-related products, and that's most of it is IoT driven. So the potential of IoT post-COVID, during COVID, and beyond COVID also is going to be huge. It's very valuable, and the best is to get plunged into it. So now there would be a common question: how do you kickstart? How do you start? And I believe there's a site called instructables.com. This is a DIY site, do it yourself, which has a range of projects right from the most uh, naive and most stupid projects to the best of the best projects. And the beauty of this site is that everything is very crystal clear. All instructions are given step by step with diagrams, with instructions, with component lists and everything. So it is very, very easy to follow instructions on the site and get going. The only thing which you need to do is buy an inexpensive kit for less than 1,000 rupees, or maybe uh, even 800 rupees. You can start with a kit at home, try it out, and get onto the IoT bandwagon. IoT has another component because IoT also paves the way for robotics. So robotics is highly dependent on IoT. A robot cannot sense if it does not have sensors around it. So all robotics are essentially IoT elements. So if you learn IoT, tomorrow your future is already safe from the perspective of robotics onslaught, which is going to come in the next 5-10 years. It's not far behind. Therefore, the sooner you get onto this, again, I would say it is better. So with that, I end my session. We can have question and answers. And if people want, we can again organize a workshop from Makers Lab where we can give a hands-on, experience on how to build IoT, how to do the first 2 experiments on IoT, and also to help you make a product on your own. That exercise can be done. You can mail to us through Sharmita and Jobs for Her, and we can organize that. Questions and answers, please.
That'll be nice, Pankaj. We could do that workshop sometime in August.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's take questions now. You can either unmute yourself and ask your question, or you could also type your question and we'll take it from there. We have a few that's come up on the chat window. What are the various skills I need to have for a career in IoT?
Okay. So the basic skill is number one, you should have you know, the kida in you to do innovation. If you have that, then basic skills do not matter. I have a person who has been a cab driver all his life. He was a teacher and then he became a cab driver. He has built one of the best IoT demos that we have at our lab. If you come to our lab, you'll see that it's a complete smart city model which he learned in just less than 2 or 3 months and was able to do it with no electronics, no engineering background, no science background.
Despite my tech background, I am
Mhm.
more interested in the ethical and legal aspects of IoT. Can I build a career in that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So any element, and as you would progress forward in the human society, when AI is becoming the mainstay, the roles of devices to be controlled, ethics in that, and ethics in AI or IoT or different domains of connectivity would breach a lot of areas or probably overlap a lot of areas of privacy issues, personal issues, and there will be a huge need for connecting and having people who can do this kind of stuff. So it's an excellent choice, and you can start working on this.
Yeah.
There's no
The next,
criteria. Yeah. So I see there's a question. Any criteria to join this workshop? There's no criteria. Anybody and everyone can join, as many as possible. We'll have a joint session, and Sharnitha can arrange that, which is the
first,
primary programming language. So primary programming language in IoT depends on the controller base that you use. You could have Python also, and you could have C also, but it hardly matters because the component of programming is very minuscule in IoT. It is more about connectivity and understanding and building the logic. So that should not be a hindrance. How do I enroll for workshop? You will arrange that session, and you are already connected on mail to. You can mail to jobs for her, and they can arrange this session for you.
we'll keep you posted, Shilpa. The next one comes from Ankita Singh. Which is the primary programming language used today in IoT?
Yeah, I replied that. So it's
Okay.
Python and C primarily, but that's a minuscule component as such.
Uh, can you please explain some key products Makers Lab developed, which these were developed, and what was the objective?
Okay.
Why were these developed and what was the objective?
So Makers Lab has built a lot of products, right from Veturino, which is a device for telematics in vehicles, allows you to capture vehicle parameters as the vehicle is moving and seeing it on the cloud. We've also built eNetra, which is a device to capture and monitor your power consumption at home using a very cheap, hardly 250 rupees of a device set up on your meter externally without any connections or anything. Similarly, we have built a people's counter for Delhi airport. So the moment people enter into a smoking room or a restroom or a prayer room at the airport, so that they may not have and crowd that location, we put a machine over there which counts how many people have entered, how many have left, and they give an indication whether the crowding is happening or not, and that deters the people from entering the room. So there are many of them. We are also building a wheelchair which would be auto driven, and above all we are also making an autonomous vehicle which would be a bolt on kind of thing.
The next one comes from Divya.
Mhm.
Is there a key place to look in instructables.com for beginners projects? Or can you mention a few?
So you simply say start and start blinking program, make LED blink, and you will find first thing which you have to do. You just say basic search for a blinking program, a basic blinky program. My first IoT platform. You'll get a lot of ideas over there. All instructions very neatly mentioned. Even the fluidity of the UI of this site is fantastic. It makes you can download the entire project on a PDF and learn it offline. You can use it for your kids' science projects also. Very beautiful projects, and many of the projects that you see, I see a lot of projects which are doing like uh, uh, tank controller, tank level monitors for home. So when your tank gets overfilled and it overflows, those kinds of projects are also there, which you can actually physically implement in your house.
Okay. The next one is from Aishwarya. Says, will IoT still be a huge deal in the post-COVID world?
It is going to be one of the biggest deal. IoT and AI is going to be the biggest field because health is going to become the most principal, fear factor for world post COVID. People are already thinking, what if another virus comes up? They've already started thinking about it. The governments have already started. The government of India is already working on an initiative to figure out if another kind of,
class
So, Mana, can you please mute yourself?
So the government of India is already working on an initiative which is 10 years ahead of this pandemic and thinking next pandemic, if it happens, what to do? How would you, save lives? So when people are thinking about this, the health has become a center point. And when health is the center point, you cannot do health monitoring today without IoT. So again, IoT is going to be the mainstay. IoT, AI are the future technologies.
Ankita wants to know if there are any certifications needed to enter if I want to switch my career path.
No, you don't necessarily have to have certifications. You can start afresh. As I told you, we have a cab driver who's joined Makers Lab, and he's working his career out of IoT. So that's not necessary. However, there are a lot of small time courses on Coursera, on Udemy, etc., which you can try out just to learn. Many of them are free as well. So you'll see a lot of free examples on YouTube as well.
Mayura asks, in case if we come across any problems while working on IoT projects from home, can we approach you?
Yeah, you can definitely approach Makers Lab. We would be glad to answer all your questions. I'll ask Sharnitha to give our front door Makers Lab email ID, share with everyone. So you can directly also write to that front door of our lab and everybody can get answers onto that and help assistance. Makers Lab is a non-profit sort of R&D center for Tech Mahindra. So you can feel free to walk in, connect, and even talk to us on that. Any topic that you feel appropriate.
Yeah, the next one is, what does it take to combine Android device and IoT sensors? Is it feasible?
It hardly requires anything. There are a lot many devices where you don't even need any controller. You can directly connect a sensor to your mobile phone. So Android devices are directly interfaceable. Otherwise, you can use a Bluetooth connector, which acts as a serial port between your device as well as the mobile and connect it to any Arduino kind of device. It could be a Raspberry Pi Arduino device, which can talk to the mobile Android device through a Bluetooth. And the third facet is you can use a Wi-Fi or a USB cable as well.
Yes. Deepika asks, if I have an idea to be developed, how should I go about it? I am a non-technical IT professional, so if I have a design solution idea, what should be my next step?
So if you have a design solution idea, you can forward that to Makers Lab. We will help you, mentor you to build that project, and we'll assign you to one of our women mentors who can train you on that and take you forward in that. They'll handhold you.
We have, I think we've answered this. This is on certifications which can enhance my CV. That's answered. So the next one is from Padma. Has Makers Lab worked on any IoT projects related to social development sector?
We have not done specifically for social development sector as such, but if you have an idea, share with us, and we'll have you build that project on top of it.
Yes. Shilpa wants to know, is it possible to start small business from home based on IoT?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the way to go. Actually speaking, because for example, the small component that we have built at Makers Lab, it's hardly a 250 rupee device. It's been built in about a month or so by our lab people. And if you would have made it at home, maybe it would have taken, say, 2 months, 3 months. If you would have built that device, and if you are able to handle this, and even give to your community, if you are able to give it to the flat owners within your society itself, you'll have a market of almost like 500, 600 families. So you've already sold 600 devices, and the 3 months of effort is already covered for. So that's a beautiful model. IoT will help you stay at home, build devices, and who knows, you could build a device which could be sought after by corporates, and they may, buy your technology and your idea.
The next one is from Divya. Does cybersecurity play a role in IoT?
It does play. Cyber security, as devices are getting onto internet, so is hacking and cracking happening on devices. And there are a lot of hackers who are specifically peeping into people's Alexa conversations, into people's network browsing. And these do raise cybersecurity issues. So if you have expertise on cybersecurity, or you build on top of it, it could help you in IoT as well.
Yes. Sumana wants to know, can I resume? She's had a break of 12 years, and if she can resume a career in IoT. She's a BE graduate and has 2 years of experience in embedded vehicle tracking system.
Okay, it's absolutely fine. Even if you have taken a sabbatical for 20 years, it is fine. Careers and the way the devices have evolved, the way the kits for training and development have evolved, these days it is very, very cheap, effective, and easy to get onto, and easily reacquire the skills that you might have lost. And you should be onboarded very fast.
There's another one from Ankita. Could you please suggest a basic kit to purchase to start in IoT? Maybe a development board with a lot of sensors.
So just look for assorted kit on Amazon.in. Amazon basic IoT Arduino kit. That should solve the purpose. It should be something like 1,500 or 1,600 rupees. If not, you can mail us, and then we can send you links to that.
Yes. Another one comes from Shilpa. Can hardware specialists also build a successful career in IoT?
Of course, they can. Any hardware specialist has already got immense knowledge on voltage, current, and other parameters, and they've seen a lot of components within the hardware they've been building. So that paves the way for them to easily start making circuits and designing.
So I think, okay, another one is coming. Can cybersecurity in IoT be a career specialization by itself?
That we already answered, I think, cybersecurity.
Yeah. The next one is, how different is AI from IoT, and is learning one of them, if learning one of them can help learning the other as well?
No, learning one cannot help you learn the other one, but they go hand in hand, because AI is also entering into each and every IoT component that we are building. AI is different from IoT. IoT is more about sensing data, putting that data on the cloud, taking instructions on the cloud, and actuating something. Versus AI is trying to infer uh, artificially, as an intelligent human being, infer values, information, uh, sentiments, etc., out of the data which has been collected by IoT. So they complement each other, but they are not the same.
Don't see any more questions. I think we can give it like 60 seconds and then wrap it up. Okay, here. Ankita wants to know any book suggestions for beginners.
Books, there's a book by Sam's Publications, which is IoT for Beginners, that can help you a lot. And if not, I would suggest you just jumpstart onto instructables.com and follow some instructions on YouTube channel. There are a lot of beginners IoT courses over there free. Look at those videos and you should be up and running in less than 48 hours. That's my gut feeling.
Yeah, let's give it another 30 seconds and then we could wind up if there are no questions. Okay. Pankaj, thanks for a wonderful session and sharing your inputs and discussing on how women can mold their careers to get ahead in the field of IoT and the need of technology with women technologies from across the spectrum. I would also like to thank all of you for having attended this masterclass. If you are a woman in tech, you know the Internet of Things has become as important as cloud computing and mobility. It's a trend that you need to get a full understanding of, and we hope that we've helped you today with this class. Thank you so much, Pankaj. We'll really look forward to your workshop sometime in the month of July or August.
Sure,
And
sure.
we'll keep
And I'll send
everybody
across
posted.
our generic email ID for Makers Lab. So
Okay, sure.
everybody can be answered.
Yeah, definitely. We'll also share your recording on the with all the attendees, and have your YouTube link uploaded as well.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you for conducting this class for us.